Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Bose Colloquium lecture, and we are very lucky to have Professor Bandyopadhyay with us. He has been a frequent visitor of this institute in the capacity of being the member of the governing body, but today he has come as an academician to share some very interesting research topic with us. I request Professor Tanushree Shah Dasgupta, our director, to kindly introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Rajiv. So, good afternoon, everyone. And it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Uday Bandyopadhyay, who is currently director of Bose Institute, and he is also a professor of molecular medicine department in Bose Institute. And this has been decided that all of our governing body members, to have a better interaction with the faculties, they should participate in the seminars, and which was started by our GB chairman, then a lecture by Manoj Harbola, Manaranjan Mohanty, and the fourth one being given by Uday Bandyopadhyay. And as many of you know, he is a renowned molecular biologist, and whatever way he wants to describe himself, because he said he feels more comfortable talking to physicists. So this room is filled with physicists. So I hope that he also likes to call himself someone who likes to have discussion with physicists, in spite of the fact he is a biologist. And he has received a numerous number of awards and accolades, and which include, of course, the J.C. Bose National Fellowship, being the membership fellowship of all three science academies of India, as well as West Bengal Science Academy. And before joining Bose Institute, he was a principal scientist in IICB. So, and his PhD is from this city only, is from Jadavpur University, but I think the PhD was done in IICB. And he has spent time in both France and Germany in their very famous National Health Institute. And today's topic actually is very interesting. I find it very interesting. We'll talk about the mental stress which all of us are undergoing and its effect on the gastronomical problems, the gastric ulcer, and I think many of us will be able to connect this topic. So, Professor Bandyopadhyay, is famous.
Many thanks, Professor Tanushree Shah Dasgupta, for your kind introduction. And also I'm indebted to the faculty's members because they have given me a scope to divulge a very recent area of research I would like to expose to you that will surely connect you from you are coming from physics background or chemistry background or what it may be. Because in the post-COVID era is the era of stress biology and consequent stress pathology. So intentionally I selected not according to my very favorite traits of behavioral biology. This is the work I'd like to present to you for last 5 or 6 years. I'm continuing here in Bose Institute as well as some remaining works from IIC. So that is that the impact of acute mental stress on gastropathy, gastric ulcer, and how I can connect this metaphysical level, it's the mind upset, melancholy, anxiety, and how it talks with the subcellular organelle called mitochondria. And I would like to set up the relationship between mind, mitochondria, and vessels to understand the pathology imparted during acute mental stress. Before going into the details, we should clear or we know what stress is the body's response to pressure. may be mental, it may be whatever it may be. And mental can be defined as a state of what of mental tension caused by difficult situations. So it depends, it varies from man to man. What are the difficult conditions are? Now, two more things, that is acute and what is chronic. Acute is very short-term type of stress. This type of stress we must often encounter in day-to-day life. And chronic means stress that is never-ending, inescapable, like the stress of bad family life, persistent diseases, often extremely taxing jobs, chronic and childhood trauma. You may include so many things. But you know, in day-to-day life, we all face acute mental stress. A subject matter we don't that. People going into the detail, I like to tell you, the socioeconomic problem of the present era, I usually call this affluenza, means the influenza because of affluency. So the hybrid term, the gastropathy, is nothing but a socio-medical consequence of affluenza. So we are all becoming highly desirous. We all are thinking we will be something great. We all thinking we will achieve everything. We have money. So money is fueling the desire and making a situation called affluenza. So that is a disease I'm tackling, that's the gastropathy. So over-ambition, desire, stress, depression, smoking, alcoholism is a consequent effect. Junk food and xenovirus, it will lead to hyperacidity and oxidative stress. Sedentary lifestyle strain, it will give you pain, arthritis. That will lead to consume painkillers. Ultimately, the clinical aspects. Suppose some of your relative is admitted to ICU. That is giving you huge stress, acute stress. That's called stress-related mucosal disorders. So stress, depression, anxiety. All these are funnelized into a state called gastric ulcer, gastric injury, or modern term, stress-related mucosal disorders. 7.5% Indian population is under the stress. 75% Americans are under stress. Stress-related mucosal disorders in more than 75% in ICU patients. Severe mucosal bleeding and 40 to 50% mortality with post-traumatic disorders symptoms. Now, we should understand what it happens. We have two brains we are carrying. First here, and the second in stomach. So all the time, first brain used to talk with the second brain. First brain here, it contains all the materials to be a first brain, that is glial cells, different kind of neurotransmitters, whatever the things, all are existing in stomach, but in laser bulk. So it's a miniature of the first brain. And in our body, in each situation, first brain used to link the second brain. If there is any defect in the first brain, second brain will be affected. So, because God is considered, it's in fact a theater in which the drama of emotion plays out. The beautiful word by Emerson, the famous psychoanalyst. Where in the stomach, you are the stage, but the emotion is always playing in the different forms. In the stress, anxiety, depression, attention defect, expectations, conditioning, COVID-19, all are affecting the first brain, giving in some extent the pain. Because of efferent connectivity to stomach, ultimately leads to gut mucosal injury. And these injuries may subject of disease. Second thing is that to avoid all these depressive facts, what we did, we used to rely on medications. So the whole body is gradually becoming made up of peel, because these peels are different kind to arrest the depression coming from different sources. So the situation is so grave right now. So it's a fundamental thing. What should you do? Again, I can summarize that stress, anxiety, whatever the things, cigarette smoking, exogenous factors, such burn, injury, trauma, Helicobacter pylori, sudden bad news, low percentage of annual performance reports, assessment failure, whatever. All these things are really culminating to destroy the second brain. So my objective to understand what are the molecular players playing pivotal role to connect the first brain to the second brain, how first brain is damaging the second brains, and what are the molecular players responsible for damaging the stomach. So if you understand this thing, we can identify new generation of molecular targets so that new therapeutic intervention can be substituted. This fundamental part. By this we started to understand the molecular mechanism, to pinpoint stress response factors responsible for that, to I give intracellular basically to identify possible therapeutic targets for future drug design. So with this objective, I will try to expose to you. Feel free to ask me any questions. I think from your thoughtful insight, I will be rejuvenated for doing some future works later on. So before going into the detail, we should have a model. When I was reading MSc in Rajabhaja Science College, at that time I thought that I did not find any gastric complication of any mad persons lying in the footpath. They are taking rotten foods very happily, just like pulao. If I take it, I may be admitted twice. I have seen so many low IQ persons, idiotic, means very crude brain, no subtle thinking. We seldom find any gastric problems. Then I started venturing the whole world, educationist of the world. So then, surprisingly, all persons dealing the knowledge and contributed something in the field of science and technology, all are the victims of gastric. So then I thought, what is the problem? I have the subtle mind, and that is the stomach is upset. So an idiotic person is not having any problem. You will find some person is low IQ, I will understand, you will find salivation. The medical term is if you find any hyper-salivated person, that means his IQ is very low. You will never find any gastric problems. Even crude persons. So that I think, what is the mystery of subtleness of mind and the communication of gastric pathology? So that was my thinking. It's a huge quarrel with my teacher. So then what happens? I thought that I should set up a model. Going through papers, I understood that if you a rat in a reverse condition tying its legs at 4 degrees in cold room, and you will find that is under mental stress. This is the accepted model, so like you cannot use human being. So to establish acute mental stress, this model will be adapted in my laboratory. By this way, in a reverse mode, in a small board, these rats are placed to the 4 degree cold room. After 3.5 hours, you open the stomach, and you will find this is the control rat, which is not placed to the cold room. This is placed. Huge perforated bleeding black spot of globule. This is histology. So this 3.5 hour exposure of acute mental stress leading to gastric mucosal ulcer. So we corrected it with a formula, then I can correct how much stress is quantified to the injury. By this way, we standardize. Next, this model was used throughout my experiment later on. What we did, so how can I say that in cold room, the ulcer is from due to mental stress? How can you say that? So we have to validate the hypothesis. So what I did, so this is the control, this is the stress, and the drug called diazepam. It can arrest your mind. You will sleep. You should not have any disturbance in mind. It will kill mind. That's why it's not tranquilizer. The second category is olanzapine. This is one kind of tranquilizer acting different mode. If mind is responsible for the generation of gastric ulcer, this drug will certainly arrest. Look, this ulcer is 100% arrested by this tranquilizer. So killing mind in that condition can prevent gastric ulcer functions. Now, being a scientist, again I argue, can I make a model of ulcer where mind is not involved? That is also available. If you consume painkiller like aspirin, diclofenac, all common painkiller, ibuprofen, after 4 hours it will again form gastric ulcer. So that ulcer must not be prevented by diazepam and olanzapine because it does not associate with pain and mind. So what I did, so then this is called non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug-induced gastric ulcer. Indomethacin is a gas of oil, but this ulcer is not prevented by both olanzapine and diazepam. This concludes that during stay at 4 degree in cold room, that were undergone severe acute mental stress that is leading to gastric ulcers or gastropathy. And it has been documented by using the solid spectra of oozing out blood from that in spectra. Now the question is that I like to go into detail of the surface of the study. So there are some hypotheses in my mind. What happens? So loss of mitochondrial health and subsequent cell death are common coordinated cellular energy organ. It's a common. So this organ is injured because of this loss of bioenergy, the ATP production. This is fundamental for cell growth and proliferations. So because of lacking of that, it is injury. We next zoom our interest to reveal that. The question asked, is there any role of mitochondria? Is there any role of mind mitochondria relation in stress? It is true. So these are the hypotheses. These are the hypotheses. Now I'd like to get you the data to confirm that after validations of this thing. Before going into the details, I have a chance to explore what is mitochondria. Although you know it, but still it's my duty. And what are the official duties of mitochondria? What happens? It's a bioenergy producing machine in all cells. Are molecular machines whose jobs are to generate and allow the electron to flow in coordinated fashion to electron transport chain or ETC. And the electron flow packages the energy produced in molecules for ATP. The movement of electron is making the proton motive force that is coupling inorganic phosphate in ADP giving liquid. That is the job of the machine. And this machine, again, you have to understand where it is coming. So it looks like this. It looks like in the cell is a mitochondria with oxygen formation, electron microscopic figure, and super resolution figures. These are the mitochondria juxtaposed to the nucleus in long before it was bacteria converted into mitochondria. So it looks like this thing. And better to understand the brief biology of mitochondria, to understand this thing. The passport photo of the mitochondria. It's mitochondria. The father's name is Kolka. Date of birth 1857 it was discovered. And mitochondria, the name given by Carl Wenger, 1898. Most interesting thing is that it produces ATP. It's coming from mother, not from father. So my mother is giving this bioenergy machine so that I can produce ATP to talk. That's why I'm giving lecture to you. Because of my mother's contribution to providing mitochondria. That's why I used to tell we should be respectful to the old ladies. Because they are giving us mitochondria, that's what talking. It's their legitimate demand that we should be respectful because of this. So it's at the site, and it's a social networking and the compartment number, 800 to 200, 2,500 number in map. Each cell is harboring this kind of mitochondria. In its official duty, cell growth and proliferation. Since it is coming from bacteria, it has no histone DNA complex, non-histone DNA. And the duty is that it is responsible to produce ATP just to kill cell, just to grow cell. So ATP is fundamental for the organelles. Now the question is that this is the machine where reducing heat makes electron-rich molecules donating electrons, and electron is moving through different complexes, and that is coupling this to form ATP. That's the electron transport chain. And the building of proton gradient is the fundamental part that powers. And I should tell the glorious name of Peter Mitchell that he actually discovered the chemiosmotic theory to generate ATP because of proton force. Because of this guy, we understood that how this machine is really allowing electron to couple in a very phosphate to ATP. Now the question is that to have some idea about this thing. An adult male will need 3 into 10 to the 18 molecules of ATP per second. Let's go through the statistics that how fast, how robust this bioenergy producing machine is to produce this molecule. The body produces and makes approximately 70 kilograms of ATP daily. Although your weight is 50 kilograms, but ATP is produced 70 kilograms. That means the turnover of ATP, you understand what's a beautiful turnover of it. And then the brain, most interestingly, approximately uses 70% of the total ATP produced. So by these ways, this machine is providing this. So if you use the 70 kilograms of ATP, it can boil almost 2.44 kilograms of water. But our thermostat is maintaining this thing, not allowing our blood to boil it. Now you understand more precisely that 1 teaspoon of sugar forms about 3 into 6 into 10 to the 23 molecules of it. So 1 teaspoon sugar is good enough to produce such an amount. Why we are overeating to raise the demand? So statistics I'm giving you, and the last statistics I will give you because we give you details. So it's very important. This tetraviral, this porphyrin, this chemical moiety is given the responsibility to tag proton in the form of chlorophyll, and this tetraviral is giving the possibility to add oxygen to carry capture hemoglobin. When this red, there is iron is coordinated. when there's a magnesium, it is in green called chlorophyll. So this tetrapyrrole is taking the full responsibility of the whole life process of the body. You know, the solar system, photon is going to the chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll is going to the system, forming food for tomatoes, suppose. It is being eaten, and this tomato is going to the mitochondria, and the bioenergy is produced. That means each day we are eating solar system in the form of food. The photon is converted into food, and we are eating. So electron is moving, we are eating electrons, and electrons are not moving all the time. So life is nothing but the flow of electrons. So suppose we are every day eating sun in that way. If you go into details to understand this, now the question that you should go, what is the impact of this very nice biology machine during mental stress? Mental stress reduces the formation of ATP from this machine. Mental stress arrests mitochondrial respiration. Mental stress arrests fatty acid oxidation, the fundamental part of mitochondria. Mental stress reduces mitochondrial transmembrane potential, making mitochondria in dysfunctional state, inducing mitochondrial pathology. Stress triggers gastric mitochondrial depletion also. Not only pathology, if you measure the copy number of DNA, mitochondrial DNA, the total number from 800, it is gradually reducing to 210. Ultimately, each cell will be vulnerable that it will not grow anymore, leading to the injured state. Mental stress invokes mitopathy, mitophagy. When mitochondria is defective, it engulfs by mechanism called mitophagy. So mental stress, like the way it induces apoptosis and this destroyed mitochondria. Mitochondrial translocation of bags, cytochrome series is the parameter. We should not go through into details. These molecular pairs and concentration means time-dependent increment of bags, indicating that mitochondria is under a huge threat during mental stress. And this stress is activated to caspase 3. That means it induces apoptosis like cell death. Now, the question is that these are all morphological terms I'm talking to you. Then I use this control and stress tissue and subjected for Illumina high-sex maize generation sequencing. So by this differential display, if you compare this control 1 and control 2, compare the stress 1, stress 2 sample, you will find the genes are overexpressed. Overexpressed genes down the way. So this heat map, the global heat map is indicating that stress is significantly holistic way altered genes as stated in normal state. Now we are interested, what happens, what are the genes a target of mental stress? By doing detailed studies, we came to know these are the significant function analysis based on the global transcriptal profile, but the analysis of acute dose-assisted stress. These are the things, this bar is indicating that these are the things are highly predominant events occurring in presence of stress. And this can lead to this kind of category of diseases. So where you will find mitochondria is very common factors. So by this way, we identify. Now the question is that if it is true, how we can pinpoint what are the genes that has been transcribed by specifically mitochondrial genome. Mitochondria is containing its own DNA. It can encode 13 proteins. These 13 proteins can be used for formation of electron transport chain. So we measure all these things. All electron transport genes being down regulated in stress. All core enzymes in electron transport chains are down regulated. All oxidative phosphorylation assembly factors are down regulated. All oxidative phosphoenzymes are down regulated. That means by extensive gene analysis and transcriptional profiling, it is serious threats for mental stress and its impact on expression of DNA. So this is being considered very seriously. Now we are interested to go in details. If it is down-regulated, what are the consequent effects? So by this thing in stress, mitochondrial fatty acid metabolism is being arrested. Mitochondrial clearance of urea cycle is arrested. Mitochondria associated amino acid metabolism genes are inhibited. So whole body during mental stress is becoming defective. And if we perpetuate it, the whole body will be harm of diseases. Because acute mental stress can create certainly impact very fast in stomach, but if it persists, it can affect other organs. You know, if one organ is damaged, they are all selfish in nature. The damaged organ like to see why other organs are in good state. So it sends some death signal. That's called death associated molecular pattern. By sending this thing, I am going to die while you will be there. So ultimately, all organ will start dying. It is called multi-organ failure. So these are the consequences if by mental stress we damages the second in the stomach. So then, what are the things I am talking about? The analyzing transcriptome in silico. The validation by doing qPCR, by designing primers, and we validated that these are the genes responsible for electron transport change for producing ATP are severely compromised. Now the question, if we drop perception of stress, what will happen? But I'm talking if it's right that mental stress is affecting the transcriptome of the following genes that is leading to the depletion of ATP production because it damages mitochondria. If it is true, then if we arrest the perception of stress, there should not be any downstream effects. With this mission, what we did, we treated and the rat before exposure to the stress by diazepam and olanzapine, as I told you earlier. Then again, we analyze all these parameters in mitochondria. Very nicely, both this diazepam and olanzapine, the interesting way, they restored the degradation of any metabolic pathways, the restoration of transmembrane potential, detoxidations, mitochondrial activities, then ATP content, the respiratory control ratio, mitochondrial respiration. So if you arrest the perception of stress, mitochondria will be free from all these things molecular effects by this one. Another question is a diazepam and olanzapine prevents induction of mitophagy and apoptosis. What I told you, it is being activated. So if you prevent the perception, these events will also be arrested. So it is documented here and it is arrested. As you go through the philosophy, you are not going into the detail of it. So now the level 2 validation. Who transmit the signal from brain to the heart? Is there any neuroendocrine relation? What is the factors? So mental stress is produced in hypothalamus, hypophyseal, but here. The stomach is staying much downstairs. So how it is connected? Who is translating? What are the psychosomatic chemical transmitters? Is there anything? With this thing, we started measuring this thing. People going into details, stress, it's nothing. A collaboration with sense organ, perception, and reflex, mind forming molecules, and hypophysis, anterior pituitary adrenal cortex axis. So serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. These are the molecules. They are keeping our body in feel good conditions. If they are deranged, we will never feel any feel good situation in our life. So this is controlled by feedback loop. Means hypothalamus is processing stress. Then it releases corticosteroid releasing hormone. Pituitary sensing the stress signals, releases adrenal cortex to release glucocorticoid, and cortisol, corticosterone, this kind of glucocorticoids are released, and these released factors giving signal to hypothalamus that I am 100% stressful condition. Please rescue me, do something. Then it stimulates the hormone of these feel good hormones. So they will try their level best to keep you in good conditions. But when they fail, you will be in melancholic state, depressive state, and you will be in pathologic disorders. So this is the body system. So eye, nose, tongue, skin, they're sensing from the environment different kinds of stresses, making the reflex, sending hypothalamus to alert this soldier to be in the body for rescuing all this. So these are the coordinated fashions in the whole body is situated maintaining the microcosmos in such a way that we are all free from any kind of mental stress. If there is a mental stress, you will find the consequence for exposure. Now the question is that, is there any document that what I am talking, that mental stress is activating HP axis and thereby increasing the generation of corticosterone, the steroid hormone in body? We measure in stress condition. It's a control in the stress. Look, the serum corticosterone is tremendously high. And if you prevent the perception of stress by diazepam and olanzapine, it's reduced. So corticosterone is a molecule. By doing extensive ELISA, we identified that this is being triggered during stress. And what happens? If it is released, it can interact with this receptor ligand called glucocorticoid receptor ligand called GR. So in applying high resolution super resolution microscopy, we came to know that during stress, this is the huge, the GR, which is very much significant here. But you will find in stress, this is green signal is indicating that GR receptor is being activated during stress. And if GR is activated, this corticosterone can interact with glucocorticoid receptors, thereby giving signal to mitochondria. So then if it is true, is it located to the mitochondria? Certainly during experiment, you observe that glucocorticoid receptors are located both in mitochondria and nucleus. Corticosterone touching the receptors, internalize the receptors, and provoking the genome of mitochondrial DNA to arrest the synthesis of electron transport chain component so that it cannot produce it. So with this measure, then we started what else? If it is true, look, this is mitochondrial location of GR. This is standard markers for mitochondria. So then we use a fantastic molecule called mifepristone called Ru486. This molecule is interacting with GR receptor and not allow corticosterone to interact. So in presence of these ligand inhibitors, instead of having stress, we should not have such kind of problem. So if we expose the rat with the mifepristone molecule and expose to stress, Ru486 is preventing the formation of gastric ulcer. That means this molecule is not allowing corticosterone to interact with GR. So this kind of therapeutic strategies can be adapted even in presence of stress to arrest the occupancy of GR with corticosterone. Now the question is that if it is true, then Ru486 would prevent stress-induced electron transport chain defect. So again, we started measuring all the parameters for understanding the mitochondrial health. That is delta psi m, respiratory control ratio, complex formation, mitochondrial complex components. All these things are not activated, which is usual in stress. So GR occupation is very fundamental part in that thing. Then now the question is that if we prevent mitochondrial pathology, what will happen? Let stress be perpetuated. We cannot avoid it. So what should be anything? Can we design downstream therapeutic approach bypassing the fast brain? With this mission, we started to design something which can enter inside mitochondria, thereby scavenging mitochondrial defective products like superoxide. But the electron-rich molecules giving electrons. When it is not properly going, it leaks out. What will happen? If it comes out, so then what will happen? The electron is interacting with the highest electrophilic molecule called superoxide. And this superoxide is coming from, the electron is coming from different complexes. And this superoxide, what will happen? Will make your mitochondria hub of reactive oxygen species. And that can activate what not all macromolecules called oxygen. So by this way, if it is true, what happens? Progenitor ROS is activating all this kind of thing, and by subsequent Haber-Bosch reaction or Fenton reactions, the whole molecule will be the hub of hydroxyl radical, most toxic reactors. Now the question is that if it is true, we use tax analysis to demonstrate that exposing stress, huge amount of reactive oxygen species like superoxide is produced in gastric mucosal cells. And this is iron catalyzed loss by flow cyclometry acid and oxygen damage of macromolecules and protein carbonate contents are increased. Because these are all positive evidence of wet lab data to validate that what transcriptome is advancing and advocating to us. Now the question is that mental stress induces mitochondrial transcription. Mitochondria is defective. So there are two mechanisms: mitochondrial dynamics, fission and fusion. So mitochondria, where there is defective mode, good mitochondria is helping the bad mitochondria to mix. Until they have the capacity, they will try to exchange material to make a bad mitochondria good mitochondria. It's called mitochondrial fusion. And when this bad mitochondria cannot be repaired, so they mutually decide that I will not donate anything, so they start for fusion. Fission and fusion dynamics is a common pathway in mitochondria. So what will happen? So this is called mitochondrial scissor, called a protein which will cut mitochondrial. So in stress, it's unthinkable that TRP, the protein is being activated and inquired to mitochondria, cut mitochondrial stress. So the markers for mental stress. So we know about mitochondrial dynamics. So then we assay the directory of physiogenic and physiogenic proteins to understand the dynamic state of mitochondria, and then we can understand the pathologic state of mitochondria under stress. By this way, we came to know that mental stress increases mitochondrial fusion and reduces mitochondrial copy number. Now the question is that these are all due to the consequence of generation of superoxide. then if we scavenge mitochondrial superstructure specifically, it will arrest all this. So what we did, then we are thinking, so we have coined a new term we like to introduce to the world called mitochondrial tranquilizer, because it cannot stay away from stress. So, and we don't like to have diazepam, olanzapine, or any type of tranquilizer that will make us addicted. So can we design, instead of stress, we can mitochondrially targeted small molecules that will scavenge reactive oxygen species. So stress cannot impact anything on ATP production. So there should not be an organ injury. So with this thing, we started it's a new molecule called mitochondrial division inhibitors that will prevent mitochondrial seizures. It is introduced before stress. What happens? This MDP1 fantastically prevented the formation of gastric ulcer. Mitotempo, the nitroso compound, which is going inside mitochondria, because mitosignal, it can go inside mitochondria and target only reactive oxygen species. So that is formed into stress. So going inside, it is scavenging reactive oxygen species, keeping mitochondria free from any threats. Mitotempo and MDP1 prevent stress-induced bioenergetic defects and cytokine. So what I did, it is protecting and it's all biochemical parameters as I told you earlier, just to test and validate repeatedly that my hypothesis is perfect. Now,
how does this technique compare with the earlier one where drugs were given? I forget the name.
So we are using the drug that called tranquilizers. That's called mitochondrial, not tranquilizer. They are preventing the perception of stress. They are called barbiturate. So they have the power to go inside mitochondria. But this molecule will not make you addicted. They are not barbiturate. They are going inside mitochondria because of mitochondrial signaling, and they are scavenging out the bad product because of stress. So this molecule will be helpful so that you will not be addicted. In presence of stress, you will be in a good mood.
Exactly. So how does this technique compare with the technique of the earlier one? So if you check
Same
the
thing.
parameters.
So we use this molecule earlier and then introduce the stress condition and cold.
No.
One group is not there.
No, that is fine. I'm saying the parameters you listed out in the last slide. Suppose we see the parameters. Say suppose this middle chart. The same graph you showed for the earlier technique.
Absolutely.
So how do the numbers compare? Is it any better compared to that? Or?
Absolutely, that's here. Look, this is the MDP and mitotempo plus stress. So this is only stress. This is in reducing detoxidation. That is that bad affairs in mitochondria. So if it is protected, so then what will happen? This molecule is increasing. That means this molecule is significantly ameliorating the detrimental effect of stress in mitochondria.
By how much? Quantitatively, if you compare this technique with the earlier.
Almost 90%.
Almost.
Even sometimes it is more absolute. Because if you find this thing, you find, this is the quality. This is ulcer. Morphology, look, it's there. So that means this molecule is bearing a significant potential that we should design mitochondrially targeted small molecule, which will bypass your first brain, correct the second brain by scavenging reactive oxygen species. So take home message, what I can tell you, that stress is coming and it is being sensed in HB axis in the brain, first brain. And this is allowing release of corticosteroid. The corticosteroid is interacting with the receptor for GR located on the outer surface of mitochondria. And this mitochondrial interaction allowing internalization of the receptors to hook on the open reading frame of mitochondrial DNA, thereby allowing that you should not transcribe the proteins for electron transportation functions. What will happen? Acute mental stress induces mitochondrial bioenergetic crisis in nerve. So diazepam and olanzapine, they are blocking the perception of stress. So stress is there, but it is blocking the mind. It can kill the mind. If there is no mind, there is no stress. So there is no effect in gastric. What will happen? Glucocorticoid bound activated receptors transferred to mitochondria causing mitochondrial pathology. So now do 486. You'll find intramitochondrial superoxide is major gastric damaging problem. And then mitochondrial dynamics is being altered and blocking excess fission. And selective scavenging of mitochondrial superoxide corrects mitochondrial anomalies like central nervous system. We do not have active central nervous system in brain. But that's saying stressless function. In all kinds of stress, if you go to doctor, they will give you alpha 0.25, 0.5 every day constantly. Because that will make me mad a time will come. Because your perception will be key. Even you don't understand there's a body. But I don't like to use that. The majesty of my work, frankly speaking, to design new kinds of stress neutralizers bypassing central nervous system. That is the majesty. So by this way, what will happen? So I can correct by blocking the perception of stress here, or I can arrest the occupation of corticosteroid receptor by making this type of molecule, or we can apply micro specific molecule which will go inside. 1, 2, 3 tiers of protection can be measured by the central nervous system. So this is the philosophy what I'm just going to tell you, that this is the fundamental thing. But again, I would like to add just for the few minutes I'll tell you that so far I'm talking to you that the system is damaging mitochondria. Then why mitochondria is sitting idle? Will it not activate the biogenesis of it? Someone is killing, so then I zoom our interest to understand what is the impact of mitochondrial biogenesis. It is killing. Why it is not allowing to biogenetically replenish the matters? So in this way, again we apply for the next sequencing, and this is the process by which mitochondrial biogenesis, the whole of PGC1 alpha protein is responsible for mitochondrial biogenesis. So what is the status of that protein under stress? What you are having? Increased transcriptional PGC1 alpha. So under stress, the PGC1 alpha is highly increased to activate mitochondrial biogenesis. But interestingly, the full made protein is replenished here. So PGC1 alpha is reduced. It is a stress. And the band length the intensity is very low. That means PGC1 alpha is not formed. Why it is apparent paradox? The thing is that at transcription level it is trying, but in the full protein level there is something which is degrading. So is there any activation of ubiquitination? So that's why then we started doing this thing. The huge ubiquitination of the protein. That's why the overall content of PGC1 alpha is decreased, although it is increasing transcriptional level, not at the translational level. By this way, again we started understanding by applying the NGC data that glucocorticoid receptor mediated activation of ubiquitin ligase. These are the proteins. They are ubiquitinating the finished protein, thereby damaging the finished protein. So mitochondrial biogenesis is also compromised, not only mitochondrial damage. By this way, we understand what are the things that are activating. And this is called the KLF15 and ABOX32. These are the protein which has been activated. Again, by doing the metabolic half chain analysis. So time-dependent increase in serum corticosterone and corticosterone mediated activation of glucocorticoid receptor subsequently activate different targets of GR and GR signaling. So all ubiquitin ligase. They are responsible to degrade the protein, not allowing mitochondria to be biogenetically higher in the structures. So again, the biggest thing is that time-dependent upregulation of KLF15 leads to upregulation of ABOX and ADP ligase. So this is fundamentally correlated here. But if it is true, then again I would like to test that 2486 to protect all these things so that it can also allow that biogenetic pathway arrest to compromise again. So by this way, we confirm that glucocorticoid receptor blocker 2486 prevent KLF15 upregulation and favor mitochondrial biogenesis. So by this way, this kind of glucocorticoid receptors and glucocorticoid interaction, if we arrest, this situation will help the mitochondria both preventing its damage and in favoring its biogenesis. So that under stress, the person will be very effective conditions. So pre-treatment of stress neutralizer favors mitochondrial biogenesis also. So by this way, I can summarize the cartoon that this is the pathway of stress by which it activates the mitochondria, down-regulates the mitochondrial pathway biogenesis, and also it activates mitochondrial damage pathway by this making mitochondrial things. So it's not very, I can tell you that this is the thing that happens in mitochondrial electron transportation and what is the impact of it. Ultimately, acute mental stress increases mitochondrial oil energy crisis and hyperfusion, along with aberrant mitophagy in our leukocyte protein model of stress-related mucosal disease. Activation of GR-signal plays a pivotal role to induce mitochondrial hyperfusion and inhibit mitochondrial biogenesis that jointly promote guard mucosal injury. Thus, this is very fundamental work, and I'm delighted to let you know the small months before, a very big paper accepted in British Journal of Pharmacology for advocating that we have identified new therapy strategy to keep people free from stress. It's a good news for me. So the correction of mitochondrial pathology will be a realistic approach. by designing mitochondrially targeted tranquilizers to protect stress-related mucosal disorders or injuries. That was the proposal of my papers. The future generation, future pharmacology in that direction, that stress we cannot avoid stress. So how can we live healthy, keeping mitochondria in a healthy state by designing something? That was my take-home message. And so I'm really indebted to all my students, collaborators, funding agencies. And thanks for your presence here, and I'll be delighted to ask me any questions. Only thing I can summarize to you, that philosophically I can tell you, mitochondria, mother, and humanity. This is the nexus. Mitochondria is coming from mother. If my mitochondrial inheritance is bad, mitochondria will not produce it. So the whole body during stress is tackling with the nexus, mother, mitochondria. So that I can tell you. That what great job, my satisfaction that these are the things I came to know, how mind can control mitochondria. If your mind is bad, mitochondria will be bad. So metaphysical events is being translated into pathology through electron reducing agents. That's my magistrate technique. So this I introduced to the world. Then you can ask me what I like.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Bandyopadhyay, for this very wonderful talk. You can take some questions. Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, one thing is, so that's a very nice result. So when do you expect RU486 trials to start in human?
Already started.
It's already started.
It has a problem right now. It induces abortion. That's the problem, right? I'm zooming my English at that time. So it may have some other things. So people are thinking to make a molecule customized, which will retain the ability to go inside, but not retaining the pharmacophore responsible for abortion. So it will start catalyzing new type of mitochondrial tranquilizers.
So my question is more general. So you basically studied the impact of stress on stomach, but there are other effects like high BP, blood sugar. So will your strategy or proposal be effective also to control this?
Very nice question. In gastric mucosa, each bolus of food is eliminating huge amounts of gastric mucosal cells with stool. So that's why gastric mucosal cell turnover is equivalent to cancer cell growth, but not cancer. For cell growth, you need it. The demand of ATP is highest in gastric mucosal cell. Any deficiency will lead immediately pathology. But in stress, if you wait for a few days, few months, same effect is going in heart. Same effect is going in other tissues. Because they are not that much ATP requiring molecule, so pathology is following in a late manner. Right?
Okay.
Depending on the demand of ATP, what cell is giving.
So the stress condition essentially will mean like the electron transport channel within the mitochondria will be disturbed, right? And is it generally true for any kind of stress? Because stress can be induced in many different ways, right? So is it true for all the stress that we encounter, or a specific kind of stress does this?
That requires some experiments because I have worked only with acute mental stress. Okay. So that these have to look at fast brain. Suppose heat will not affect the fast brain. As I told you, indomethacin painkillers, aspirin, diclofenac, it will not affect your fast brain, but will produce gastritis. Our question is that after the post-COVID, you will find everywhere you will find stomach problem.
Yeah, that's
Why? Just suppose if you ask your kid for exam in mathematics, you will find first day before the exam, you will have some problem, stomach problem, you can't go to exam. You ask an orator to give a speech to big audience, you will have some stomach problem. So this is my address. And even more interesting, you will not find this kind of problem in a mad guy. Because the mind is not there. Actually, I can tell you the genesis of it is interesting to you around me. I did these experiments, then I asked a guy to repeat it. Then I left somewhere probably. Suddenly they told, sir, introducing this kind of animals, I am not getting no as ulcer, but you are telling that it will form. It's a big problem for me because you are published paper also. So you are not getting how this may be. So then, just like a detective person, I am just roaming around with that scholar. What happens? That scholar is making this kind of experiment because she was afraid of handling rat because rat is erratic, white. What will happen? She is using chloroform. So that is senseless. Then time, placing the cold room. The whole period in cold room stay, the rat is sleeping, there is no tension. So then I told, okay, replace this chloroform by diethyl. So then immediately getting ulcer. Then ask, sir, what you did? Because you are not keeping mind and following mind conditions, So you should understand the rationale of the experiments. I am dealing with the mind. Suppose you will feel, you ask any of your relatives, if someone is admitted to ICU, whole family will suffer from gastric. That's called ICU affairs in USA. That's called stress-related mucosal disorders. They are not calling gastric ulcer. SRMD. 75% American populations are victim of it. That's mental stress, not heat, not magnetic stress, not photo stress.
So actually, continuing his question further, initially you identified two categories of stress. One is this day-to-day, the
Acute and chronic.
One is the chronic stress. So is there any study which has correlated chronic stress with
Done by
so you will find the correlation or not?
Yeah, correct. Correlation.
So don't you think that those who have chronic stress will somehow their body will find some mechanism to deal with this better?
So they are trying. That's why I told you the feedback.
So we can say normal, sorry to interrupt, in normal life, you don't find examples of say people who have very bad childhoods or say other problems actually having these problems. I don't know. I mean, so where is the correlation?
No, you are multiplying that. What is the impact of chronic stress of this kind of things?
What is the impact of chronic stress on gastric ulcers?
That's what I'm talking. So that there's a model or swimming stress model in rat. Because we have to swim the rat month after month and not allowing rat to come to the site. If it goes there, there's a spark of electricity. It can come to see. This is called extended month-long swimming stress to follow chronic stress and its impact. It's the same. Because if you are getting any kind of stress within 3.5 hours, it will aggravate. But what body is doing, as I told you, the feedback loop is having activity. Because hypothalamus is activating pituitary to activate glucocorticoid. Because anti-inflammatory corticosteroids are preventing. But anyway, it's excessive release. Rather curing, it is aggravating. Just like military deployment. There's some anomalies. You are deploying military person. When it is finished, if you keep military persons, it will disturb you. The same thing, the feedback loop is deranged. So the effect is being magnified. Yeah.
Nice talk. So, your molecule is going inside mitochondria and like interact with this ROS. Yeah. So it's actually trapping ROS or it's going back to oxygen molecule.
No, it is trapping.
That's trapping for some time. Yes.
Superoxide trapper. It's called nitroso compound. Pyrroline N oxide. These are the triplet used for EPR spectroscopy for trapping free radicals.
So it's trapping for for some time.
So long it is there inside. So the guy he did beautiful work that this pin trap they added a molecular signature which will be targeted to mitochondria. That's why TEMPO is a nitroso compound used for EPR spectroscopy, adding a signature that will go inside mitochondria to trap the molecule. That's called mito-TEMPO. That's the thing.
Really fascinating talk. I have two questions. First one is kind of follow-up of the earlier question. So mitochondria is there in all cells. So first of all, so if I understand correctly, in the gastric cells, probably number of mitochondria is higher.
Number of mitochondria is same in each cell, but the demand of ATP is higher in gastric cell. The demand of ATP, because it is growing every day at a faster rate, that needs energy. If it is not having, it will immediately form that energy. Others are not. They will be happy with 40% ATP. They can survive.
So there is,
They are not
there
doing
is no other cell with so much demand of eating.
No.
When you say no other tissue.
exactly. This is the highest demand mitochondria is in gastric mucosal cells. That's called non-oncogenic growth, but at the same rate of oncogenesis.
My next question is more of a comment. So you talked about brain to gut communication. So I was reading, no, brain to gut. So mind to gut. But I was reading somewhere that there's gut microbes. These microbes, so the population of them can actually alter the mental, how you feel. So that's true gut feeling that you can talk about. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, true.
This connection between.
No, I have started. My job is I will take some fluid from gastric mucosa and I will go about which kind of microbiota is there. So that will give a signature. Suppose different kind of stress and phenomenon. Then I will follow what is predominant microbiota at stomach. So that will give a signature that if you find that you may have mental stress. These kind of studies, to advocate you in advance that stress is allowing which kind of bacteria to be predominated in stomach. So that will give a signature in advance to understand whether you are in stress or not.
But it's also reversible. The gut health or the gut micropopulation or composition can also affect the.
That the whole
mental
world is looking right
Yeah.
now. So that's why they're using probiotics like curds, then fermented rice. So these probiotics, we are taking fluid, we are thinking for going NGS sequence. Then we will characterize by gene analysis and template that these are the bacteria. Why it is predominant? Is there any stress specific? Is there any diabetes specific? Is there Alzheimer's specific? So that by following this thing, it will be a useful diagnostic tool. So we are pursuing that way.
Thank you.
And second thing I can tell you, again, what's interesting, that I have also already started. People are crying because of joy, because of sorrow. Same tear is coming, when you are crying by listening Bismillah Sanai. So they will find the composition of tear is different. But if you cry by a shocking news because you have lost a patient or parents or something, or if you have sprinkling chili dust, same tear, no. So by using mass spectrometry, we are going to piece out emotional coefficient and intelligent coefficient, so that this parameter will help you that you allow this guy to go to literature, this guy you allow to go to medicine. So by this way, we can identify the tear and fluid compositions in gastric microbiota codes. So this is my mission. So that this is very fantastic way of designing. I cannot tell you.
Any more question? Yeah.
I think the mental stress also can lead to weight loss, right? I mean, that probably explains the mitochondrial crisis or something.
Each day 70 kilogram ATP is produced. So if you are not having any ATP,
Right.
loss is fundamental. That's called anergic state,
Right.
lack of energy.
Right. No, so my question is that, but still, I mean, a person is already stressed, but he or she is taking food. So, what the extra energy, I mean, how is it dissipated or flushed out? Or, I mean, exactly what's
There
happening?
is no production of it. I told you, dear, stress.
No,
is
but
not transport
you are
changes.
having food, no? Then, I mean, that food, I mean, how is it processed?
When you listen what I'm talking, then you will understand. So, what is the purpose of taking food? It will form NADH. Ultimate, whatever they will eat, it will form electron-rich molecules. That is the job of taking food. Done. Now, these electrons should go to the electron transport chain. Stress is blocking this thing. You can take tons and tons of whatever things, but electron will not move. There is no ATP production. So, to understand the thing, that's why I'm telling you details the electron transport chain. So that's why in that case, what will happen, overeating, you will die immediately. That's why fasting is mandatory. Why? Because the more you will eat, the more NADH will be generated. And if electron reach your housing, there is a chance of leakage of electron because electron transport chain is not accepting. So it will become superoxide. The more you will consume, the more fast you will die. That is the philosophy. So overeating is that, that's why. It should give rest to the mitochondria. That's just like in diabetes, why renal failure. Because to eliminate, through using the excess fluid, by exercising the renal cells, same thing if you utilize mitochondria repeatedly, mitochondria will not accept electrons that you are consuming. So then what will happen? Very fantastic thing.
Thank you. Maybe the last question from us.
No, last one. What did I do?
Otherwise, stress is going to be removed.
If honesty is allowing them, I like, like, because I'm getting some question, I'm deep driving my mind.
So, of course, we all know stress has lots of negative effects, but does stress have any positive effect at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are events that those who are able to manage stress, converting this evil crisis to the good wishes, like channelizing to form endorphin, oxytocin. This endorphin means one kind of molecule, if you produce, you will not feel any pain. The more the oxytocin will be generated, you will always laugh. Oh, what a great you are. There is no need to laugh, but due to the upsurge of oxytocin, you will laugh everyone. So people are adjusting in that way. So that the two things people are thinking, because I'm talking right now, this is still in hypothetical state. You have to consume less food. You have to give rest to the electron transport chain. So that it is in rest condition, but stress is there. So stress is not manifested. So then what will you do? Then you will thinking, oh, stress is nice, God has given me stress, probably because I may be prime minister. Then you will be feeling oxytocin level is high. You are generalizing stress into good thing. The purpose, the same thing. So this is the way people are practicing them in psychosomatic medicine. Suppose you are thinking, I will be the chief minister of this thing. There is no chance. But if you think you are forcing this stress into formation of endorphin and oxytocin. Why mother is loving a kid? Highest content of oxytocin after birth is produced. Otherwise, mother cannot love a kid. This is a philosophical thing. So very nice. This is the way how we can channelize stress into good thing.
So I'm guessing this drug that you have designed is meant for extreme cases where people cannot adjust their mind.
These are not drug. These are the molecule which will be what the studies required for designing and avenues. These are the avenues old world can design non-toxic molecule. Because my job of a scientist is not to design molecule, to give an idea. The whole world will do. I cannot make drug, then I will apply again, will collect this. No, this is not my job. My job to open the avenues for new drugs.
Online question: the dementia and mitochondria, is there any relations? This mitochondrial production reduces with age.
That is little bit, it is reduces with age, but I cannot have the confidence to tell because I am not working with the dementia. I do not know, but with the age, the production of ATP is reduced. There are evidence aging is reducing the copy number of things. That's
Okay, so if there is no more question, let's thank Professor.